One of my sons says to me the other day, he's like, because we wear suits and ties a lot. We have to. My son's like, Dad, I want to be just like you. I want to be able to wear a suit and tie. Then everybody's going to know I'm successful. And you know what I told my son?
What'd you tell him?
I said, son, you've reached success when you don't have to wear a suit and tie. And everybody knows who you are, not by the clothes that you wear, but by your accomplishments in business.
Yep.
Hey guys, welcome back to Grindwise. I'm Earl, and as always, I'm sitting here with my partner, Brent. Today's going to be a special day because we've got some fun stories to share with all you guys out there. Stories about people that have had successes in business, people that you may never have heard of, but you're definitely going to recognize the products. As always, I like to dig in and do the research, and I'm going to hit Brent with it. He has no idea what I'm going to talk about today, so we're going to have some fun dialogue. If you haven't gone down below and hit the like and subscribe button, make sure you do that, and also hit the ringer for notifications when new content comes out. Also, if you're looking at expanding your business in a positive way, go to tryturing.ai and definitely get engaged there. But Brent, here we are. It's Sunday. You and I have been going, I think, for 40, 50 some odd days straight, 7 days a week. Yet we're right here bringing back the content for all the people that enjoy listening to it.
Man, I'll tell you what, it has been a long past few weeks. We were in Dallas first part of the week. We took Brandon with Blue Couch Studios with us. We're going to have some phenomenal content coming out from that. That was a great time. We got to talk to a lot of amazing business owners at that event.
Man, that was crazy, wasn't it? I mean, from walking in now, we got there a little bit early. Our rooms weren't ready, so we're in our traveling clothes, and then everybody around us is wearing suits and ties, and I'm in sweats and a t-shirt because I'm going to be comfortable when we drive for 4 hours.
That's why I always show up to every event looking like I do right now with a polo and blue jeans.
That's my point exactly. So we weren't really ready to see business professionals.
Well, it doesn't matter. Look, it's just like we always say. We all put our pants on one leg at a time, right?
Yeah, have you ever tried to do it 2 legs at a time?
I have. I fell flat on my face.
It doesn't work out very well. So we're down there. We are immediately talking to people. Of course, people were there last year at this Bill Walsh event. Same people, a lot of them, but then so many more new people, which was crazy. It was fun for me because they're like, Brent, hey, Brent. And I listened to you talk about it for a year straight, that Bill Walsh event. And so there, all of a sudden we're there.
Yeah, it was definitely fun. I love the interaction. It's a great networking event. I mean, it's just being able to go out and talk to that caliber of people. The people that are on stage. And I tell you what, that was only the second time ever I've spoken in front of a bunch of people that are what are called professional, get paid to speak at engagements right now, right? So I was a little nervous going on stage.
Were you? You didn't seem like it.
You know what? I got up there and I was just like, it was probably the best speech or whatever presentation I've ever given. I felt really comfortable and at home because I knew the
you look like a Baptist preacher up there with you had your oh Lord, I'm catching the Spirit. Here we go. No, you did really good. I mean that was a lot of fun. I mean, people were interacting, but it was, how many days were we there doing that?
Well, we were at the Bill Walsh event 2 full days.
Right.
We were there the night before, and then we stayed the next day, and then you actually stayed a couple more days. Tell me about the event you went to.
Well, so we have a representative down in Dallas, Texas, and he got tied in with NFL FA. It's the union for the NFL players outside of the NFL. So when they retire, there's a union for the players that are in, and there's a union for the people that are out. It's an organization. He got invited to that, so I went there, and we on the 48th floor. I mean, it was floor to ceiling windows. It was, if you got vertigo, not the place to go. The elevator ride and walking out, and it's like whoa, but. Probably 100 and some odd ex-NFL players were there, Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders and stuff like that. But, the funny thing is, you talk about the pants on one leg at a time. These are all people that they come out of the NFL, and they're almost like an endangered species in that everybody's perception is you've got millions of dollars, so they're just getting pounded with this opportunity, that opportunity. And as you and I both know, and those opportunities aren't always the best opportunities.
Right. You sent me a picture, and I almost started laughing. I mean, you're probably at least 4 inches taller than I am. You're a big muscle guy. You're definitely twice as wide as I am with the muscles. And you send me a picture, and you look like a toddler standing next to these NFL
Oh my gosh!
players.
One was an ex-Cowboy, one was an ex-Raider. I mean, they were getting along. So I think once you're out, they start getting along. But yeah, I said, hey guys, you got to let me stand in between you and take a picture. So I'm 6'1", 250 pounds. These guys were mammoths. So
Yeah.
I sent that over to Blue Couch. Maybe they'll throw that picture up here in the podcast. But these guys were huge.
So interesting. I keep meaning to tell you about this, and I keep forgetting to tell you about this. With Bill Walsh, last year went to that event and got invited to Lee Steinberg's Super Bowl party in Las Vegas.
Lee Steinberg's.
Yeah.
Wow.
Jerry Maguire. And so I got invited to that last year and this year. Didn't make it this year because my team was playing, but at the same time it was late. I got late notice on it. But we went to the one in Vegas with the Chiefs playing, and I met the president of the Nevada group of the NFL players, and that guy actually invented the QR code.
I'll be done.
Yeah, I have a picture with him and everything else. I have his number. I should probably call him and say, hey, we should come talk to these guys as well.
Well, you want to talk about a nice bunch of guys. I mean, it's not like it's not like what people would think you're sitting in a room full of movie stars or something. Every one of them was super friendly. They're all shaking hands, coming up, jabberjawing. Even from, I rented one in the parking lot, way below the building. And, you look at him, you're like, oh, there's a football player. I'm like, are you here for the event? Yes, I am. We talked all the way up. By the time we got to the top of the elevator, he's like, here's my business card. You got to call me. I need help. And this is what's funny about that whole thing. Not funny, haha, but interesting is, again, people think these professional athletes, they come out and they're so flush with cash, but there's only a percentage of them that are really, really dialed in, right? And then everybody's hitting them up. So, for us and our companies, it's we have all these different solutions, ways to pivot people within business. So it was a lot of good conversation, but I think for those of you watching, this is what might be an interesting takeaway for you. Brent and I own businesses, yet we still are consistently out there making those contacts because it's not what you know in business, it's who you know. And this is just an example. We'll go and we'll drive 5 hours. Of course, we had so much equipment, and you'll see some videos coming out. We'll putting together, Blue Couch Studios putting together some stuff for us. They were down there filming. And so they're going to enjoy that. But you've got to keep networking. You've got to keep out there, be present in your business. You've got to be the authority in your space, which is what we are. So we go out there and meet people. So if you're not doing that in business, make sure that you are. But Brent, today we're going to talk about some fun stuff. You know me, I like to go into the deep dive. I'm thinking, what would be really cool to talk about? And people have been really, really good. Like our last podcast, we were answering a lot of questions from the people that take time to watch us. But I thought, you know what? Let's talk about some stuff that people don't even know about, right? I mean, some of them might, but I was sitting there reading these and I'm going, gosh, the takeaway in business as it relates to owning and operating a business, being successful in a business where you go from nothing to something, it's pretty astounding. Are you ready to go on that today?
Yeah, when you told me the idea of us having this podcast today, my thought went right back to some of those questions last week. I got this $1 million idea, but I don't know, I don't know. And to hear all these people that are household names now that have succeeded, but they failed 999 times, or they failed 10,000 times, just like Thomas Edison and the light bulb. You've brought that up before. It's that one time that you succeed that takes things to the next level.
Well, it's crazy. Some of these things, you'll know the product, but you're going to be like, oh, that's the person behind it, and you're going to be like, I've never heard of them. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to parlay on this. Now, I'm tired today. I am, because it was thunder and lightning all last night and tornado warnings.
Well, so I'm glad you brought that up. So I have to ask you, and maybe if you got a picture, you can send it to Brandon and put it in here.
Right.
Did you sit in the corner in the center of the house with your Harley Davidson helmet on?
So I joke about that, right? Because you have a tornado shelter. I don't. I'm in a house that's been there for several decades. So I'm thinking, it's pretty good. But, I have bulletproof vests and helmets and gloves. I'm like, is there enough for everybody? But
it's it's funny and not funny, but I've lived here in the Midwest my whole life. Kansas, Oklahoma, Missouri a little bit, but I've seen 2 tornadoes in person since living here.
Just 2?
My whole life, yep.
I think the perception is there's like one every other week. And
right.
People are disappearing off to the land of Oz, and they end up on a yellow brick road.
The night we moved into this house, that we live in, there was a tornado on the ground. And,
how big?
It was probably 100 yards wide or something like that. It wiped out a few buildings, probably 8-10 miles from here. It literally came off the ground and went back up into the sky a half mile from our house. So the night we moved in. And that year, that was the first year we lived here, which was like 9 years ago. And that year, I think we didn't have the storm shelter. And that year, I bet we were in that storm shelter, or in the closet under the stairs 25, 30 times. I mean, it was like sometimes 3 or 4 times a day. And we're like, what is going on? We shouldn't have moved to Oklahoma, right? Bought a storm shelter the next year. I think I've had it 7-8 years, had that storm shelter. I don't think I've ever been in it but once.
Okay. That's a good sign, because I'm here now, and I'm from the Northwest, and we don't have tornadoes up there. We get a lot of rain, and snow, but we don't have tornadoes, so that's exciting. I got to ask you, have you ever heard a squirrel scream? I know, it's just like...
yeah.
Have you?
Yeah.
So we got this squirrel, and I think I talked about it before. My wife named it Hemi.
Mm-hmm.
Squirrel loves us now. I mean, that squirrel thinks we're just something else. Our dogs aren't that convinced that these squirrels are cool, but we think they are. So right off our master bedroom, we got this deck, and there's a railing, and Hemi's always down there looking at us through our sliding window into the master bedroom. We're like, what are you doing, Hemi? So we started putting nuts out there on the railing, and Hemi just comes down and gets a nut here and there. Was it yesterday it was yesterday morning. I went out and I put a bunch of macadamia nuts out, and Hemi loves them. I go in there. She's like, what did you do to Hemi? I'm like, what? Hemi fell off the deck. Fell. He was so excited. I think it's a he. I'm not sure. I haven't, how do you tell if a squirrel's a female or a male? I don't even know.
I don't know. Maybe I don't know.
You look for it, squirrel. Never mind.
At the end of the day, you're giving it nuts. Maybe it's a female.
Could be. I'm not sure. Anyway, Hemi was down there. He was eating the nuts and was just like elated, happy, and stepped wrong and fell and screamed all the way down to the bottom. Hemi's fine. Hemi's fine, everybody. I saw him since, or her. I'm not sure what Hemi is. It's got to be a guy. We named it Hemi. So
I had a when I was probably, 8, 9 years old, being roughhousing around out, chasing squirrels out. And when I lived up in Kansas, I chased one up a telephone pole, and it's on the very top of the telephone pole. And I just stood at the bottom like, what are you going to do now, sucker? And you know what he did? Jumped right at me.
No.
I think I ran and screamed.
Flying squirrel.
I think I was screaming like Hemi was, running away. What is happening? It's going to attack me.
All right, so let's dive in.
All right, let's go for it.
So I pulled this. Well, this is the first one up. So I pulled up a story, and this is proof that you can literally build a multi-million-dollar business out of like nothing, out of a complete mess. So kind of the story goes, and you've heard of it, right? It's Play-Doh.
Okay.
But you probably didn't know that Play-Doh was originally created to be a wallpaper cleaner.
Oh, really? So like to pull stain, like fingerprints and stuff off wallpaper?
Well, yeah. Well, more so like in the 1930s, so people were still using coal and oil stoves and things like that would create soot in the house.
Yep.
And wallpaper was really big. So Play-Doh was actually created as something that you could roll up and down on wallpaper, and it would clean it up. And as it went, it worked like a charm. Everybody loved it. It was mainstream. Everybody knew what it was. Like, you got to get your Play-Doh up. We got to clean it. But then all of a sudden, electricity comes in, natural gas comes in, so people aren't having the soot problems in their house, and they darn near went bankrupt.
So let me ask you a question. Was it called Play-Doh when it was a cleaner?
Well, it was called Kutol Products, Kutol Products. Okay. And it made a pliable putty-like substance for cleaning soot off of wallpaper, right? Mm-hmm. So this is, and again, this is before central heating and everything like that. You had the oil, the burner stoves, and things like that. So they're rocking and rolling with it, But now there's no more soot because people are going to electricity. Kutol Products is darn near in bankruptcy.
Well, that's what did we say on our last podcast? Be ready to pivot.
Right. So, okay, well, here's the pivot.
So they they almost go bankrupt. How'd they figure out this pivot?
Well, they had this employee, right? It was actually the sister-in-law of one of the employees, and she was a school teacher, and she had this product. So she brings some in of this leftover Koodle product that cleans wallpaper into her classroom for the kids to play with because it's non-toxic. There's nothing wrong with it. Well, it turns out the kids absolutely love it. They're like, this is awesome, right? So they're molding it, they're stretching it, they're doing all the things that kids do with Play-Doh. And she's like, what? So what they did is they tweaked the formula on it, right? They changed it a little bit, added that perfect smell, added some color to it. And this was like the 1950s, let's see. And that's when they rebranded it Play-Doh. So 1930s, they're doing all this. Things change. You got to pivot in business. School teachers, let's say, hey, go play with the wallpaper cleaner. Have a blast, We don't have a lot of money in the budget. Here's a lump of stuff. And it takes off like crazy. By the end of the decade, it's sold in over 2,000 stores. It's later bought by Hasbro, and it becomes the staplehood of children all over the globe, right? I mean, everybody has Play-Doh. So we're talking over 3 billion and counting. It's literally in the Toy Hall of Fame.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I remember having Play-Doh when I was a little kid, and they have all those fun little, you can get different colors, you can make different things, and little machines that you could push the stuff through and shape it.
Right. Yeah, Play-Doh Food Factory and all that.
Yeah.
Well, here's the funny thing. I could blindfold you right now. I could pull out Play-Doh and just say, smell this, and you wouldn't know what I'm putting in front of your nose, and you would immediately identify it. Yep. I mean, and that's what's so unique about it. But reinvention in business, that's survival. You've got to be able to take what you're doing and reinvent it.
What do you think would have taken its place had they not pivoted in business, had they went bankrupt?
Well, I mean, it could have been lost in the archives and the annals of history. Look
at this wallpaper cleaner that went bankrupt because people didn't need it anymore.
I can't believe I got through that whole story and you didn't make an old joke about me. I was so prepared. I was like going to be like,
oh, you just teed me up. I'm ready now.
It's too late. It's not going to work. Right? So here's the thing. They didn't go and invent something new. They took something they already had. They added some colors to it. They added some scent to it. They reinvented it. And it's all because of this innocuous moment in time where this lady, this sister-in-law of an employee at Koodle Products says, this is kind of fun to play with. Let's here, kids. We don't have any toys. Play with this lump of clay and have a field day, right?
Yeah, I mean that's at the end of the day, if it keeps the kids occupied during their recess time, then that's right, and they love it. Then it's going to be a hit.
Business. We talk about this a lot, Brian. We talk about where you sit in business, economic times, these downturns and stuff. That ability to pivot and look at things for what they are beyond what they are, right? Take the blinders off. Don't be the Clydesdale plodding down the road unaware of what's surrounding you.
Well, you've got to, just like so we keep talking about, you've got to be able to pivot. Otherwise, you miss that opportunity. I mean, billion-dollar company that are billions of dollars in sales that had they not seen that pivot happen, they've been long gone, and there's probably a Play-Doh empire somewhere where the family has a legacy, and I'm sure I'm heirs to the Play-Doh people, right? So
let's go with a different type of story because this one's one of my favorites because it's so prolific. I mean, this is a testimony of trying and failure to massive success. And you're absolutely going to recognize, I don't even know if I want to tell you the name, but maybe I will. This is literally $1 billion empire right now, right? So this guy invents this product. He does 5,126 prototypes, keeps getting told nope, don't like it. And it was the Dyson vacuum cleaner. 5,126 prototypes. And he kept getting told, no, I don't like it. You want to know why?
Why is that?
Because vacuum cleaner sales, it was such a big market. They made their money not on the vacuum cleaner, but on all the bags that people would buy for the vacuum cleaners after the fact.
Right.
That was where their money was derived. You sell a vacuum cleaner once, you get a really good Hoover. I mean, I think my mom still has her Hoover from 1960, right? So I would say most people probably would have quit trying after the first 150 attempts. This guy, 5,126 prototypes.
Wow.
Turns it into $1 billion business. But here's where it gets wild, right? So once he finally nails the design for the world's first bagless vacuum cleaner using cyclone technology, because that's what Dysons are. He figured the hardest part was over, right? He's like, nope, no problem. So he shops it around to every major vacuum manufacturer in the U.S. and the U.K., right? So now he's going outside the United States. Every single one of them turned him down because of this whole concept of the bags, right? So then he goes totally rogue. He's like, I'm not done. I'm not giving up. You want to talk tenacity? This guy is like, I'm not done. I'm not going to stop. So he launches the product by himself in Japan, of all places, right? Mm-hmm. In Japan. So he's tried the whole U.S. market, the whole U.K. market. He launches it in Japan, and guess what?
Took off.
It blows up.
Yep.
I mean, it absolutely blows up so much that when he brings it back to the UK, he launches the Dyson, a DC01, and becomes the top-selling vacuum in Britain for 22 months straight.
Makes you wonder, and I understand, the people that turned him down was because they didn't want to lose the secondary and third and fourth sales of the bags, the lifetime buying of bags. Mm-hmm. But to see that product come out and a guy sit there and present it to you, you and I as business owners have been like, oh my gosh, this is going to save the consumer so much money, and the consumer thinks that way. Mm-hmm. And if I was a business owner, Hoover, listening to the Dyson guy tell me, hey, this is going to save your customers money, and you can dominate the vacuum industry, you're going to sell more vacuums.
Well, they missed the mark. They completely missed the mark. So all these people have these bag-type vacuum cleaners, and they're like, well, no, we got to keep those sales going.
Do they still make them?
I don't even know. Everybody's pivoted to bagless vacuum cleaners. I mean, just push a button, drop it in there. My wife's got hers. She loves her Dyson. So this guy builds the James Dyson company, right? Right now it's worth over $10 million. And Dyson himself, what his net worth is? $22 billion.
Wow.
I mean, some people really, really miss the mark on that. So it's like,
well, if you have a game changing product. Mm-hmm. And you stick with your your goal to get it to market, then I mean, it's literally just go back to the first conversation about the Play-Doh. What if they didn't listen to that person on the Play-Doh? All these other vacuum companies didn't listen, and now they all probably have bagless vacuums. They had to they had to pivot.
100%. Yeah. So he solved a problem that nobody saw as a problem. They say, you got a vacuum cleaner, let's just go ahead and do that. And I think that as far as business, so for people that are listening to this, a lot of times you get compartmentalized. I remember last week we were talking about somebody's like, hey, I want to start this business, but there's so much competition, what's your advice? And I was like, why do you want to start a business with so much competition in it, So let me ask you this, and I want to talk to you about the bark side of business.
Okay.
The bark side.
The bark side? I don't know what the bark side is.
You ever heard of doggles?
Nope.
Okay. Doggles are... it sounds so stupid because if somebody came to me and it's like, I've got an idea. It's going to make millions of dollars. I got to share it with you. And he says, what do you think about putting goggles on dogs and we'll call it doggles? Are you in?
I'm ready to listen.
It was like, so you're going... I figured out how to put pants on a dog, Okay, super cool.
Well, you see him all the time riding on Harleys now.
So he turns it into this multi-million-dollar business, right? Doggles. The guy, Ronnie DeLulo, noticed that her dog Midnight, it's a borderline collie mix, keeps squinting in the sunlight. Like some dogs are really sensitive to that. So like any slightly, caring or over nuts dog owner, we've all seen those. She makes a set of sunglasses for her dog. I mean, what else are you gonna do? You got to throw some Oakleys on that dog. It's got to be high style and profile. And so this is where it gets interesting. So when she takes Midnight out to wear the shades, people are flipping out. They're like, "What? Where's my dog's doggles? Where's my dog's sunglasses?" So everybody wants a pair for their own dog, right? It's almost hilarious because who would have thought? I mean, and I'll tell you, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry now accessorizing dogs. But
and I would say that all I can think about right now is the videos of the military dogs in the sandstorms, and they have
This is where it goes. So it turns out working dogs, like search and rescue dogs, are out in blizzards or they're dropping them out of helicopters, military canines. There's dogs that ride motorcycles, or dogs that just like sticking their head out the.
Wait a minute. You said dogs. So dogs are actually riding motorcycles by themselves?
Yes. Yeah. They.
I have not seen that. I've seen them in a sidecar. You said dogs riding motorcycles.
It's a Barkley Davidson. No, but I've had a Harley. I take my little dogs and I'll zip them up in my jacket, and they stick their head out. They think they're really cool, and I got to get your motor run and play. But I've taken my dogs off. Right, but a lot of people do that with their dogs. You've seen them on the back, right in there. And so goggles for dogs. And you can literally go to any Harley shop out there, and you're going to find doggles.
Yeah,
these doggles for dogs. But then it had the whole military implication, right? Dogs just like stick their head out of Jeep windows or ride in the back, and it's just all eye protection for your dogs, sun, dust, debris. So the doggle invention, it just hit this weird sweet spot that played on not just the sensibilities but the sensitivity of owners. So she trademarks it, right? She finds a niche. I mean, you could probably tell, hey, good boy, except it was a gal who created it, and it totally blew up. It got featured on CNN, got featured on Oprah, and then you go on Oprah, I mean, the orders are going to go through the roof, and that's literally what happened. So here's where they sit today. Doggle now sells everything from goggles to life jackets to backpacks to orthopedic gear. Orthopedic gear for pets, get a little back brace on you. They've done millions upon millions in revenue. And their products are getting used by the military from the practical standpoint, police dogs and things like that. So it's kind of like from backyard to sunbathing to mainstream.
Well,
doggles.
Yeah, if you cover all aspects, you're going to be the leader in the industry.
Well, she recognized something that that was missing. People are. I mean, you guys want to talk about something good? Figure out a way to give more to your pets, and you're going to make millions of dollars, because people are absolutely crazy. You got dog shows and Westminster and all this kind of stuff. They need they got special shampoos.
Well, it's funny, you go to, like, I went to the Chiefs game over last fall, and I went into the store because the buddy that I went with didn't have any gloves, and it's cold. So we go in to get the gloves, and I'm in the checkout line with him. I'm like, I'm not getting anything. I don't want to carry something around the whole game with me. And they had jerseys for dogs. And I was like, oh my gosh. Can you just see my golden doodles running around with Chiefs jerseys on? I was like, I got to get
them. Or Seahawks jerseys. I mean, I don't know the recipe.
I don't think they make anything for the Seahawks fans, do they? Just kidding if you're a Seahawks fan.
They've already bought them all up because they're loyal. Well, moving along. So this was a new one for me. And I was so shocked. I had to print this, like, you know me, dude. I get on the computer and I start running down a rabbit hole.
5 inches of paper later.
I'm like, it's so interesting. It just blows my mind.
We should do an episode about how many trees you kill. That's what we should do.
Not many. We'll flip them over. We'll reprint on them. But do you know where chocolate chip cookies, how they were invented?
I have no idea.
None whatsoever?
None.
This is another woman's invention.
Okay.
That's made oodles of money, except the woman who invented it didn't, but she got a pretty nice treat. So here's the story, right? And this invention of chocolate chip cookies is probably responsible for more happy people than just about any invention out there, right? But here's how it goes. This gal, Ruth Wakefield, right? It's not a household name. Nobody goes, chocolate chip cookies by Ruth Wakefield.
I figure it's going to be Betty Crocker.
Right? Yeah, that's what you think. No, it's a gal named Ruth Wakefield. Not a household name. But we're talking about the 1930s. Again, we're going way back. This is when it came out. So Ruth and her husband, they ran the Toll House Inn. Now you recognize that Toll House. The Toll House Inn in Massachusetts. It's just a little spot to get home cooked meals. It does all right. It's nothing special. So she's in the kitchen one day. She's whipping up some cookies, for everybody, just normal chocolate butter drop cookies. But then she finds out, oh no, I'm out of baker's chocolate. I don't have any. So she doesn't have any of the stuff that you got to make these chocolate cookies, right? Dun dun dun. Problems. So she's panicking, and so what she does is she grabs a Nestle, Toll House, boom, boom, right? You're making the connection. Semi-sweet chocolate bar. She breaks it up in these chunks, these pieces, right? And she's figuring, I'm going to throw it in the dough. It's just going to melt into the dough, and then now I'm going to have a chocolate cookie. Well, that's not what happens. That's not how that chocolate works. It's not baker's chocolate. It's your chunk chocolate, right? So the chunks stay solid. She makes these cookies. Bam. Delicious. like mind-blowingly delicious chocolate chip cookies are invented. I mean, and so the people that come to her inn, they're trying these things. It literally becomes this overnight sensation. Chocolate chip cookies.
Did they have YouTube back then, Earl? You teed me up. I had to say something at some point.
I don't know. I wasn't around in the 1930s. Thanks, Brent. So here's the genius, right? This is where the genius comes in, because this isn't about necessarily your own product that you're out there pushing, but the genius behind recognizing products that other people are creating, but they don't know that the values there, right?
Yep.
So Nestle finds out that all these people are going to the Toll House Inn and buying these cookies. And they're all using the Nestle chocolate to start making these cookies, because how'd you make them? Ruth's like, well, you just take some cookies and you break them up and you throw them in there and you bake them and they're delicious, right? So they strike a deal with her. They say, look, I want the recipe for your chocolate chip cookies. I'm going to put them on the backs of all these semi-sweet, little chocolate chips that they make. And in exchange, Ruth, we're going to give you a lifetime supply of chocolate.
Oh, wow.
So literally,
That's what she got?
she got a lifetime supply of chocolate. Nestle's she's killing it over here at the Toll House Inn. So it becomes Nestle's Toll House chocolate chip cookies. And still today, if you go there and you buy a bag of these semi-sweet chocolate chips to make chocolate chip cookies, Ruth's recipe is right there on the back. So she didn't just bake a cookie. I mean, she baked her name if they'd recognize it that way, but they recognize the Toll House. But that's really cool. So in business, a lot of times you run across things, and it's about that. It's not just repurposing something of your own, but it's going, what are other people doing? And maybe they're missing the market. Maybe they got blinders on and they're not recognizing things for what they are. But that's an awesome example of something that came out. That's where chocolate chip cookies came from.
That's crazy. I would have figured that whoever invented them was sitting at the top of some empire or something, but free chocolate for life, she needed a better negotiator.
she needed us negotiating, right? I'd have gotten twice that, 2 lifetimes.
My family would never have to worry about chocolate ever again.
So the game of Monopoly, how do you think that came about?
Oh boy, I have no idea. I would say maybe some prisoners sitting around in prisons try and find something to do, build something. I don't know.
See, I think it's some sort of evil genius that just wants families to fight with each other.
Right. So, I landed on Boardwalk. You owe me money.
Boardwalk. Here, I'll trade you Baltic Avenue for Park Place. It's a good deal because you already have Mediterranean.
I always landed in jail for some reason. I don't know why. I was always in jail.
Well, it's a good thing games don't imitate life in this respect. So, another female inventor.
Okay.
This must be Female Inventor Day here on Grindwise, but these are the stories, and I'm like, what? That is so cool. I'll tell you this, though. When I was a kid, my mom and I'd have the Monopoly board set up, and I'd get home from school, and we'd play Monopoly for X amount of time. Then we had to get dinner ready and stuff. So we had this running game, and my mom would never trade anything with me. She'd buy the one property that I needed, and she would never trade, no matter what the trade was.
I don't know if I've ever seen a Monopoly game finish.
Oh, I've seen them finish.
Like 13 years later.
They just don't finish well. Usually they finish upside down on the floor. Or they finish over there. No, I've seen some finish. My mom actually stopped playing. I'm just a little kid. I'm pretty upset. Mom won't trade with me. She's just ruthless. I mean, she's just ruthless. And I, come on, Mom. And I'd get teary eyed and, well, if you can't be a man about it, we're not going to play Monopoly. But so the gal who creates it, her name's Lizzie Maggie. Right? Not exactly like the name, hey, get the Lizzie Maggie game. You don't see that in Toys R Us, right? But originally, it was a patented game, and she patented it, and it was called the Landlord's Game. And it had 2 sets of rules, right? Everyone gets to benefit equally, and only one player wins by causing the other players to go into bankruptcy, right? Well, it wasn't designed to be a game originally. It was designed to be an educational tool, right? She wanted to show people how monopolies hurt societies. It was a political statement is why she created it, so people could be educated on how monopolizing things in business harms people.
Huh. That's interesting. Everything always has a different purpose than it actually is, it seems like. I mean, everything we've talked about today, the candy bar, it was a candy bar. It wasn't meant to be chocolate chip. I mean, go back to, the Slinky. I mean, there's a whole bunch of different things out there that people have created, and their intent was something else.
Well, Lizzie creates this because I don't know if she's a political activist. I don't know what it was, but she designed this whole construct of this game to say, hey, life's not cool, and you guys need to stop these monopolies, and everybody needs to kumbaya, and this, that, and the other. But here's where it kind of gets messy. So decades later, this guy, Charles Darrow, sees this game, and he goes and he tweaks the design. Then he goes to Parker Brothers, and he pitches it as his own creation.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Lizzie created it, but Charles Darrow goes and says, so I've created this game. We're going to call it this. And that's Monopoly. That's how Monopoly came out as we know it today.
Did she get any royalties off that?
Not a finger.
Wow.
Yeah, so basically, here's what happened. So Parker Brothers later discovers that Lizzie's patent, it was actually Lizzie's patent. I was messing with you a little bit. And they buy her out. They buy her patent out, so Lizzie's not going away with nothing. You know what she made for that patent?
What'd she make?
Guess.
You say a month?
No.
Oh,
they bought the whole doggone patent. So Charles Darrow brings.
What year was this?
Was in the 50s.
I'd say they probably gave her somewhere around $10,000.
10,000. I mean, there's a lot of Monopoly games that have been sold.
I know, but in the 1950s there wasn't.
She got $500.
Yeah. That doesn't surprise me. That smarter play would have been, give me $1 for every one ever sold.
Well, that'd have been good because over 275 million copies of Monopoly has been sold.
Now they have them all
worldwide in 47 languages,
and they have them in different variations now. And then and I wonder, you go into McDonald's had the Monopoly game. They used to play that every year.
Right.
I don't know if they still do.
Yeah, that's right. It's been repurposed so many times. So over 275 million. That would have been a royalty deal, right?
Yeah.
Lizzie, hey, don't worry about the $500. Just give me like 10 cents on every one of them.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Yep.
That'd been $27 million for her. But Lizzie's the one who created it. Yeah. And it's not so. That's an example of hanging on to your rights, right? In business, sometimes we create things and we're like, it's just a dud. It's not going to go anywhere. I knew this ding dong who created something called Saustrich, which was sausage made out of ostrich, never took off. The guy was a piece of work anyway. But
well, that's being able to know when you have something that is your baby, and then a bigger company comes and tries to leverage their power over you and take your product and then offer you pennies.
Right.
I mean, again, we should go into negotiating for people.
Oh my gosh.
Maybe we should start a negotiation business.
That was a big part of our trip down to Dallas, just different business owners that we've been exposed to that came down there. They were looking to sit with us, and we helped them with a lot of conversations, whether it was partners or where they go in business and stuff like that. I think that's one of the things I really enjoy about what we do. It's not that we're making money. We don't ask anybody for anything, unless they're going to offer us a lifetime supply of chocolate.
Right. Yeah.
Then deal.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so this one's fun, Brett. And have as much fun with it as you want, but this is another female inventor.
All right.
And this is everywhere. You're gonna be like, what? And it has to do with cars.
Oh, I love cars.
And this was invented for vehicles. And we're not talking about anti-lock brakes.
Okay.
We're not talking about seat belts. We're not even talking about airbags. Female inventor, right? And it has to do with line of sight.
Okay.
See, when the first cars came out, they didn't have windshield wipers. That wasn't even a thought. You would at some points be driving by braille. You just, where am I at? Right?
So I'm not surprised that a woman invented windshield wipers. You know why?
I do. I got it. Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so I'm one of those guys that, I have the Rain X on my windshield, so I can literally drive in pouring down rain, not using my wipers, and I can see perfectly. And I get that backhand from my wife every once in a while, like, turn the wipers on. I'm like, I can see. You don't have to see. You're in the passenger seat.
Well, she's just trying to warn you about something that's 500 yards down the road. So, God bless her. She's trying to take care of you. So, here's how it kind of goes. It's done in 1903.
Okay.
It's a woman named Mary Anderson. Never heard of her, right?
Nope.
So, Mary's riding in the streetcar in New York City during a freezing rainstorm. She's in the car, passenger, right? So it's probably helping the driver drive, pointing out where the driver needs to go, hit his brakes. I mean, the normal. Well, the driver keeps reaching out the window and manually wiping the windshield because he can't see where he's going. Mary's like, that's a problem. So this guy's playing guess that lane. Mary's going, how can I be a better co-pilot and help him drive? So she's like, well, we got to do this, right? So, and I got to be honest with you. So my wife sees brake lights in a different time zone, and she's warning me. She's like, they got their brakes on. I'm like, that's a different time zone. But a little tongue in cheek. But guys, we've all been there, right? You know what I'm talking about. And maybe it's not your wife. Maybe it's your sister or your mom, or they're good drivers. Anyway, sure enough, this guy's weaving through traffic like the Fast and Furious edition of 1903, and she's like, yeah, we got to fix this problem. So she patents the windshield cleaning device in 1903. It's a hand operated one, right? They grab it and they go like this, and it's basically lever action, and here's how the industry responds to it. Guess
how they respond?
Yeah, what do they think about Mary's invention?
Probably don't need it.
Why?
Because it doesn't rain every day? I don't know.
They considered it a distraction.
Oh, really?
You can't have something going back and forth right in front of your eyes. That's a distraction, woman. What are you? Are you mad?
Well, if they could have saw the future in cell phones, that's a distraction.
Well, yeah, right. Well, now everything has windshield wipers. They got to be operable, and you have windshield wiper replacements.
You have windshield wipers on headlights.
Oh, yeah. And back window wipers and stuff like that. So here's an example of a problem. What is it? Necessity is the mother of invention. You need it and stuff like that. So I love it just because I like these business stories. I like these success stories. Of course, you start going down this rabbit hole, Brent, and you run across the bad ones too. And today's not. I don't want to talk about the bad ones because that could be a whole other episode, and we can tie that in. But I think for people watching it, it's one of those. It's sort of an exercise in where are you at in your business, and have you thought out all the things? You're probably an authority in your space, but what are you seeing that can buoy your business, or what are you seeing outside your business that you can create a business out of?
Yeah, it's just always about having an open mind with what you're doing with your business. Being able to take and listen to people that are using your product and say, look, I took your product and I did this with it. And then maybe even, like I said, it's always about that pivot point.
So everybody knows who Henry Ford is, right? I mean, this is one of the most iconic stories about success, failure in business and stuff like that. But did you know that he failed repeatedly?
Yeah, I heard that story. Actually, there's a documentary about it.
There is, but there's some interesting little footnotes to that documentary that maybe you didn't run across. So it's the early 1900s, right? It's before Ford was even Ford, before highways, before factories, but everyone, has their dog and they have a car. They got it, right? And this guy didn't just build an industry, but he really kind of built a way of life. He made it mainstream for everybody because it was sort of one of these, you've got to be the guy to have something like this, right? So the Detroit Automobile Company was actually his first venture in 1899. Total flop, right? Yep. Detroit automobiles. The cars were expensive. They were clunky. Nobody wanted them, unless you're super rich and affluent, you had expendable money. He gets in this big beef with his investors, walks out, and then they kick him to the curb. They're like, you're done. You're done, Ford. You're out of here. Well, guess what they renamed those cars?
Dodge.
Right. No, these were Fords. So guess what? They kick him out of Detroit Motor Company.
Yep.
What did they rename the cars?
I don't know.
Cadillac.
Oh, yeah, I heard that. Yeah, Cadillac. Yep. So the Dodge brothers were even part of Ford at one point. Yeah.
So he basically was part of creating his own competition. Yep. But here's where the story flips. Ford, he could have quit. He could have went, well, that sucks. I mean, you took away my dream. I didn't get any chocolate chips. Nothing's going. That just blows my mind. That whole chocolate chip story. So this is twice he's been burned, right? He's been absolutely just burned. His reputation's super shaky. The guy's like, I have this idea, and this is Ford. But instead, he goes and he doubles down. He launches his third company, Ford Motor Company, 1903. This time he has a vision that changes everything as it relates to the automobile industry. Do you remember what it is?
Nope.
Okay. Starts in 1903. By 1908, he rolls out the Model T.
Okay.
Here's what was special about the Model T. It was every man's car. It hit the broad audience. So he wasn't niche specific, just the affluent. He says, man, let's make something that's somewhat cookie cutter. He's actually the one who introduced the whole assembly line on it. So by 1913, they're cutting the production down, 12 hours to 90 minutes. It used to take 12 hours to assemble one, but because of the production line, he's cranking these cars out in 90 minutes.
Wow.
Just assembling them. And it's in every man's car. So the Model T just went crazy. So by doing that, by being able to create so many cars, he drives his costs down. Workers are getting paid. They're getting paid a lot better. And by 1925, Ford's actually producing 10,000 cars a day.
Wow. That's a lot of cars back then.
To go from, hey, kick to the curb, Ford, you're done. We're going to call it Cadillac. We've got nothing to do with you. The other failure to, boom, that's a comeback,
Yeah,
right?
it is.
So Ford's failure turned into a factory win. He created that whole assembly line thing, and for a long time we were just producing the heck out of cars here in the United States, and that's Ford. Everybody's heard about Ford's story, but
I heard you run across people like that, right? And they're industry experts. Now, actually, he's on the news all the time right now, but Elon said today or this week he was in an interview and he said he was excited that GM's getting ready to start building more electric cars here in the United States, and he's like, the reporter's like, "How's that make you feel?" And he goes, "I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm excited to the point that it's going to help the economy, or help not the economy. It's going to help the economy, but it's also going to help the environment." He said, "I don't care if somebody makes a better electric car than me. If I go bankrupt, it's worth it's for the greater good," and that's He's not talking about pivoting. He's got his stuff he has. He's just talking about, I've made enough money. I don't need to keep going. If somebody makes something better, we'll let them have ours.
Well, I think that's so spot on. Funny little footnote. One of my sons says to me the other day, he's like, because we wear suits and ties a lot. We have to. My son's like, "Dad, I want to be just like you. I want to be able to wear a suit and tie. Then everybody's going to know I'm successful." And you know what I told my son?
What'd you tell him?
I said, "Son, you've reached success when you don't have to wear a suit and tie, and everybody knows who you are, not by the clothes that you wear, but by your accomplishments in business."
Yep.
Right? I mean, we could get, this is a business podcast in a lot of ways. We could get in here in a suit and tie, but we don't. We're just ourselves, and we do our thing, and we help businesses left and right. I mean, we were with billionaires hanging out, eating meals this last week, countless millionaires. Just everybody's just kind of chilling. They were wearing suits and tennis shoes. I mean,
right.
Some of them. But I think that's kind of how a person knows when they've arrived. But then perception's reality for people, and that first impression is super important, especially when you haven't achieved what you've wanted to achieve in business. So, but that was my advice to him.
Yeah, that's you told me that once too. I always wear suits to speak at events, and I watch other people that go up and speak, and they're very well known speakers, and they wear blue jeans, tennis shoes, and maybe a nice shirt. And I almost thought about doing that at this last event we went to. Just go, I mean, people want to hear what you have to say. They don't really care what you're wearing.
So let's take something that's mainstream, right? So a massive commodity. Everybody knows about coffee and tea.
Yep.
I mean, they sell a ton of it out there.
Yep.
But do you know how tea bags were invented?
I have no idea. It seems like I've heard this story before, but I don't know.
Okay. So for those of you watching, this is kind of interesting, because this is an example of everybody's done stuff the exact same way forever. And just this little tweak to diminish cost on tea changed and revolutionized things and created a whole new industry in it. So this guy, the story goes, this Thomas Sullivan, right? He sells tea. He's trying to cut costs. Instead of selling loose leaf tea in these metal tins, which, there's expense with the tin, they were embossed and all this stuff. He starts taking this loose leaf tea and he puts it in these little silk pouches, and he starts distributing it that way. So they're supposed to take the silk pouches, open them up, put them in their tea steeper, and this, that, and the other. Well, the people that are receiving, they don't realize the bags are just for transport.
Oh, really?
So they're going, oh, all right, well, here's some tea in a bag. I guess we drop this in the water. So they start dunking it, the whole thing, in hot water, and presto. This is how tea bags are invented. So Sullivan starts getting this feedback. He's like, people are like, wow, I love this new style of brewing. This is great. What a game changer. So he eventually, swaps the silk, which is expensive, for this really super fine mesh gauze.
Right.
He's cutting costs, right, as he's going along. And then he goes to paper. And boom, modern tea bags born.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, any guess?
That was an accident.
Yeah, total accident. It was like necessity is the mother of invention.
Right.
And this thing, he's like, I'm paying so much for these tins to get this loose leaf tea. I'm just going to, what if I put it in a silk bag? These guys get it and they're like, I guess you dunk the whole bag in there. Yummy. So he does it. So how many tea bags do you think sold year round?
Oh my gosh, I couldn't even imagine. Probably billions.
Well, there's about 130 billion tea bags used around the world every single year.
Yeah.
Companies like Lipton, Twinings, Bigelow, they owe the entire format to this happy accident with Thomas Sullivan.
Huh. That's interesting.
So what's the lesson here? Sometimes your product tells you what to do.
Right.
Not you telling your product what to do. It was this, you launch with one intention, and you're like, well, this is going to be a lot cheaper for transport. And all of a sudden the product's going, hey, by the way, dunk me.
I got one for you.
Okay.
All right. So
About time, by the way.
I know.
About time, by the way.
You just
I knew you had stories, I wouldn't have done so much research. I appreciate that.
Well, I heard this a long time ago, but you've seen the Billy Bob teeth.
Billy Bob teeth.
Yeah, the fake
those
teeth you put in.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So the story goes that a guy was in college for dental school,
Right.
And he was playing with dentures, and he made some goofy looking teeth. Goes back to his high school football game and puts them in, and people just thought it was hysterical. And
The Billy Bob teeth.
Yeah, and so he started making them for his friends, and then he started making them more and more and selling them. And he's if I would have researched like you, I could tell you how many billions of dollars that guy made off Billy
I feel
Bob
like
teeth.
you should, and get back to me on that.
I was watching a documentary or something about his success, and he's got like 1,000 acres and has all these brand new cat equipment that he just goes out there and plays on, and all based off of selling Billy Bob teeth.
Really?
Little silly thing like
It's
that.
like a documentary, like,
Yeah.
Mike Hansen.
Yeah.
Come on in. Go ahead and have a seat. Have a seat right there. What are you doing with those teeth? What are you doing? So,
It was actually
Chris
pretty
Hansen.
interesting.
Chris Hansen. That's what he is.
Yeah.
Well, brother, there's so many stories. I mean, there's just literally so many stories. There was another one I came across. Fire hydrant, right?
Yep.
So the guy who invents the fire hydrant patents it way back when, fire hydrant, right? You got to have these
Right.
things to put out fires. The patent gets lost. The guy no longer gets credit for it because I can't find the patent. It gets repurposed, but the actual inventor of the fire hydrant had a patent on it, and the patent disappears. You want to know how it disappeared?
It got soaked by water.
The patent office burned down.
Oh, it's like you almost can't make this stuff
It's
up.
just too ironic, yeah. So, I don't remember what the guy's name was. I had it here somewhere, but I was reading. I'm like, you got to be kidding me! That's Frederick Graff Sr. came up with the design for the first pressurized fire hydrant in Philadelphia, and it was in 1836. And the U.S. Patent Office literally goes up in flames, and that patent's lost.
That might have been an inside job.
It's nuts when we talk to people in business, Brent. They always come with these good ideas, and I would say don't let anybody ever steal your dreams, right? But it's not just about what you're looking at. We try to listen with open ears. Like, people are always saying, "Hey, Brent, hey, Earl, what's the market viability of our product? Where do we take this? How do we get it into the market?" And we have those conversations.
Yep. I've sat with countless business owners that have a great idea and they want my help to take it to market.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's bandwidth is always an issue. I mean, I've got probably 4 or 5 in my phone right now that once our development team finishes a project
Right.
they're currently working on, it's like, well, do I bring this project or I have them keep working on our own? There's so many great ideas out there and people without the resources to bring them to the table.
Well, I think, and for us, I don't even know. I don't even know how many days straight we run. We're 7 days a week. week. We literally, if we get 3 hours, that we take advantage of it with a nap or whatever. Our wives are like, "What are you doing?" Or "When are you going to be done?" It's 9:00. We're pushing ourselves away from the desk. But we love what we do, right? And we always say, find something you love, and you're not going to be working. But it is work. It is work. I think that if anybody has ideas, anybody has thoughts on businesses, we don't have time to take people's business ideas, but we love communicating with people. We love, taking those ideas and maybe seeing where it can tweak, and we're happy to look at them. Comment on this, throw those in the messages there. We'd like to hear where you come from. If you're not comfortable putting in the comments, direct message us, right? Because you never know when monopoly is going to get taken away from you or something like that. But it's an everyday thing for us, Brent, and I feel so blessed and fortunate to be able to walk this path, and gosh, the stories that we get back from people when they do take something to market, and we had a hand in the conversations, maybe a little bit of guidance or a redirect,
or help them get access to the capital for we can go down that. We can go 50 different directions down that conversation.
Yeah. We put a link at the bottom of this one, tryturing.ai. That's something we worked on for a year and a half. Now people are starting to talk about it, and people are getting excited. If you guys haven't been there, tryturing.ai, go check it out. It's a game changer, but it's really a culmination of all the things we've been doing for years, housed in this area. It's a membership platform,
and affordable.
Oh, it's beyond affordable.
Yeah.
It's just literally the smartest thing anybody can do in business. But we're going to get into that a lot more. This kind of little sneak peek. If you want to peek at it, go take a look. You're going to be blown away. That's for sure. So, story after story after story. Innovation, opportunities, exciting things. I love seeing people succeed. I mean, we celebrate people's successes all the time. I think the difference between people who have been successful in business and people who haven't is when you've been successful in business, you really get on board with celebrating other people's victories. You rejoice in their success.
Yep.
And we certainly do with that. But, today on Grindwise, we spent a lot of time sharing stories with you that maybe it's relatable to you and your business. We talked about inventions and things that get lost in the mix sometimes, or the way people look at things isn't how other people look at things, and how they've capitalized on that and really changed the world as you know it. If you enjoyed this content, make sure that you go down there, hit that like, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications. Also, go ahead and click those links down below. It's going to take you to some resources that you aren't going to be able to get anywhere else, but we appreciate you spend the time with us here on Grindwise. We'll catch you on the next episode. Brent, you ready?
We're out.
I'm out.